Hey y'all, are you thinking about moving to or visiting a small mountain town in Colorado like Pagosa Springs? If so, I could almost bet right now that you probably live in a big city or what most would consider a larger town, and I'm talking about 100,000 people or more. I want to take some time to let you in on what most people don't talk about. Not that it's any kind of secret about what I'm about to cover in this video. It's just that people don't talk about it much. Maybe they forget to bring it up, or they don't think it's that important when it comes to moving to and living in a small town. And here's the crazy thing: most realtors, they're going to sell you a house, they're going to talk about the lifestyle, things to do and see, and stuff like that, but they're just going to breeze right by on what to prepare for and how to adjust once you've arrived in small town USA. So today I'm going to focus on some of those big changes when it comes to small town living. And at the end of this video, I'm going to give you some moving advice straight from some of our locals, and that's just food for thought and some things to consider. If you're new here, if this is the first video that you found, I make videos on what it's really like living in Colorado, from the homes, communities, the local businesses, and the Colorado lifestyle. And my goal is to bring you the good, the bad, and the challenging. So feel free to check out the channel if you like. And if you're shopping for a realtor, hopefully this gives you a chance to get to know me, maybe learn some things about Pagosa, and to see maybe if I'm a good fit and I could help you find a home. So starting today, I want to let you know that the topics in this video aren't just my personal opinions. I've talked to a lot of people who have made the move, as well as those who were born and raised here that come from generations of homegrown Pagosans. And I have lived it myself, moving here in 2001, and the truth is, it's not just a change of address, it's a completely different way of life. And to be fair, that's very hard to understand until you're here and actually living it. That goes the same for the other side. If you've lived here in the mountains for years or maybe decades and you decide to move back to a major city, uh, there's a whole different set of like life adjustments that go along with that as well. For me, it took about 6 months to a year just to really feel like I was finding my rhythm again. And it wasn't always easy, or I guess I should say, it wasn't as easy as I assumed it would be. Some adjustments were just harder than others. However, would I do it all over again? Would I move me and my family to Pagosa and everything that comes with living in a small town? Absolutely. Except I think I would have done it sooner. Pagosa for me it's a good fit, and I know that's maybe true for me. And however, that isn't always the case for everyone. It really comes down to the individual and what they're looking for in life or what they want to get out of life. So let's start with number one. The pace of life changes a lot. In a bigger town, everything moves faster. And if you live there, you're used to that pace. By that, I mean the traffic, the schedules. It seems like everyone is always on the go and in a hurry to get everywhere. I know when I lived in the DFW area and I had a mobile business, I was constantly on the go, working, driving, and trying to figure out how to schedule my clients' appointments with the traffic patterns on our major roads. And when I wasn't working, I was trying to make time for my family whenever I could. And crazy enough, that family time usually was getting the kids to where they needed to be, shopping, more driving, more running around. And I did try to squeeze in a little fishing when I could, or take my family camping, just to manufacture some kind of peace and slow life's pace down just whenever possible. But as soon as I got back home, the whole hectic cycle just started all over again. Then you move to a smaller town and things slow down. However, the city still has you trained and conditioned to moving fast and to check off those boxes on the to do list. And you really get good at it because you've trained for it most of your life, but mainly you do it in a specific or calculated order that gives you the most time, or I guess I should say, downtime when you get home. It's a hard transition, y'all, to go from that kind of hustle that you're used to and maybe even thrive in to a small town slowdown. At first, it can absolutely feel frustrating. You just moved here, you've unloaded and unpacked, but you still feel like you need to be doing everything all at once. And I totally get it. Trying to convince yourself to take a morning walk, just slow down and watch the sunset, can almost have some sense of like guilt attached to it. And that goes back to that training that we were talking about before. The city has you trained and used to that. So you might catch yourself thinking, Why is everything taking so long in Pagosa? Why are people driving so slow? Why are people just sitting at the booth after they've finished eating and they're just talking it up and having a good old time, but in no hurry? You might even start to think to yourself that people here must not be motivated. Like, seriously, what's going on? But after a while, I think you start to realize something. Life here isn't slower. It's just not rushed. That's a simple statement, but it holds a lot of truth. This is something that a lot of locals actually complain about when it comes to out of towners. And it's not that we're angry that you come here on vacation or that you've decided to move here. We just want you to slow down and enjoy what us locals enjoy, whether that's driving, eating, getting outside, or just life in general. And unfortunately, it's usually my fellow Texans that get thrown under the bus. For example, I have a social media group page, which I'll leave a link to in the description, but I want to take a minute and read you this post and reply word for word. The original question that I posted was, other than Pago Slow, which was a motto for the town several years ago, and Pagosa Time, and that trying to explain Pagosa Time is a whole video in and of itself. But the question was, other than Pago Slow and Pagosa Time, what are the other sayings that you have to explain to out of towners? And a person replied with, you'll spend an unrealistic amount of time behind out of towners going wildly under the speed limit to sightsee without considerately pulling over to let other people pass. And then the next person replied with, Texans always tailgate, always in a hurry. And I thought long and hard on this because I've heard these complaints over the last 2.5 decades. And that's kind of when the idea for this video hit me. It was after I made my reply, which was, to be fair, it takes some time to unlearn habits of city life when suddenly in a new environment. I think it took me about 6 months to adjust after moving here to the slower pace. Most of the time, it's just an unconscious side effect of situational living. Side note, please don't be an aggressive driver. Every local has a story on how that alone has affected their view on tourism. But it did get me thinking of just how easy the thought of slowing down and relaxing is, and how hard it is to actually put into action. So, number two, you trade convenience for space and peace. In a bigger town, everything is right there at your fingertips: stores, restaurants, entertainment, all within minutes. In a small town, you might be driving further, a little further for a lot of things. And I don't mean going to Denver, Colorado Springs, or even Durango. If you live down 84 or out by Hatcher Lake, Aspen Springs, or maybe out further, it could take up to 30 minutes or more just to get to town or get the kids to school, which for me wasn't a really big deal. It was an easy adjustment. I just planned accordingly. But I am self employed and have been since I moved here, and that gives me a little bit more freedom. But what you get in return is more space, less noise, and a whole lot more peace and quiet. And for a lot of people, that trade alone is worth it. One of the biggest draws that people have when it comes to Pagosa is that peace: big mountains, big skies, big views, national forests. But it takes some time to get used to it. Going from that hustle and grind to a slower pace can and often does cause a bit of anxiety. Yes, if you're moving here to reduce your stress and anxiety. But for a lot of us, that change can be difficult, even if that change is what you're looking for. So, number three, people will start to notice you, but in a good way. And this one catches a lot of people off guard. In a bigger town, you can kind of blend in and just be another face in the crowd. You can do your errands without anyone talking to you. Then you come out here and find out that in a small town, people notice. If you go anywhere in town here in Pagosa on a consistent basis, people will start to notice you. Even if you want to be invisible, after a while, people are going to start seeing you as a familiar face. They're going to say hi. They may even remember your name. You'll run into the same people on a weekly, if not daily basis. And at first, that can feel a little different, but over time, it really does start to feel like a sense of community. I rarely go shopping, grocery shopping, without adding in an extra 10 to 15 minutes to talk to someone that I'm going, like inevitably going to run into. If you run into me, don't feel bad if you tell me that you have somewhere to be, because I'll probably spend 20 minutes just catching up with you. I like to talk, love conversations. So, on to number four, your priorities start to shift. This might be the biggest one. What mattered in a bigger town, convenience, speed, and options, start to get replaced with time, relationships, and quality of life. You start to appreciate the things that you didn't even think about before. One of the biggest things for me was the connection with nature, whether that's skiing, fishing, hiking, golfing, or just being outside and watching the wildlife. Or we have a light pollution ordinance. So if you're out here and you just want to sit on your back porch and stare at the stars in the Milky Way at night, it's that connection. The crazy thing is that I no longer have the same desires for the things that I had when I lived in the city. I wanted the big car, the big house, and all the things. And now, keeping up with the Joneses only comes into play when I'm hiking or skiing with someone named Jones. The one thing I still have yet to get used to is the views and the scenery here, and I don't think I ever will. I hope not, at least. I still stare at them in awe and wonder. When I moved here, I felt like I instantly had a feeling that I was absolutely okay with trading the cityscape for the mountains and wildlife. And it takes time, and that's okay. This isn't an overnight adjustment. There might be moments where you miss the energy and the convenience of the bigger town, the food, the shopping, the options. Those three were kind of a big one for us, and that's normal. And I'll even go as far as to say that it's to be expected. But if you give it time, most people don't just simply adjust to the small town slowdown. They end up just like me, wondering why they didn't do it sooner. I personally feel like this whole world is kind of getting crazy, y'all, and more people are looking for that Mayberry lifestyle that they remember from their youth. And speaking of time and adjustments, some people, as crazy as it sounds, live in a place where they can order DoorDash like food straight to their door, be in and out of the post office in just minutes, have an Uber driver at your front door in no time. And this is the craziest one: Amazon packages can arrive in hours, opposed to days. And if that's you right now, then this adjustment may take a little longer. It's not a big deal. Just know that sometimes it takes a little bit more time planning ahead, and just so that you can check your daily boxes. I suggest making a list so that when you do go to a bigger town, you can stock up on the things that you might need. And my suggestion is always to plan ahead before you make the move. And by that I mean, try to find some people that you may have similar hobbies and interest in as you do. Facebook groups are always a good way to start forming friendships even before you get here. Like if you go to church, ask around and see if there's one that might fit you. Definitely have a job lined up before you get here. Research things to do and places to go. And then when you move here, start checking them off by one. Try to make an effort to slow down. It will be hard at first, but it's worth it in the long run. My little advice would be to be kind, help out when you can, forgive bad drivers. You just never know what's going on in their life at that time. Take time to get to know people in this amazing town. We have a great community, and be a blessing to someone every time you get the chance. Number six is a kind of a fun one for me at least. And this is going to be one that's hard for a lot of people to get used to, and definitely one that no one warns you about before you get here. And that's Pagosa fashion. If you are used to high fashion, name brands, you will find that most people out here, we just don't care. Carhartt's jeans, hoodies, comfy shoes are, for the most part, our version of Fashion Week. Not to say that there aren't occasions to get dressed up and put on your best clothes. There are several events throughout the year where you can get all done up for that. It's just not a big focus out here for the most part. So I know there's things that I missed on this list when it comes to the living in a small town, or what I like to call the small town slowdown. Leave me a comment. Let me know if I missed anything. That'd be awesome. And when you leave comments, they're usually helpful to other people who are watching that have the same question that you do. Okay, now the bonus section. I have asked around to see what locals could give as advice to people thinking about making Pagosa their home. And number one, use your turn signals. Two, don't tailgate and slow down. Three, Pagosa is different and may not have everything that you're used to, and you got to be okay with that. Four, be aware of the oxygen issue. This is higher elevation, air's a little thinner. It takes about 6 weeks to really get used to the altitude, and 6 months for your body to completely adjust. There are jobs here, and people are always hiring. Don't expect to make a fortune off of a 9 to 5. Pagosa is an expensive place to live, mostly because we are very limited on what stores we have and such. Expect to go to Durango or Farmington to do any type of big shopping. You'll love the photo ops. You won't always have cell service. Be patient with the pace of things here. Please don't come here and try to change anything like where you came from. Pagosa Springs doesn't need to be changed to reflect where people came from. Seems to be a theme. Pagosa would be nothing without our out of towners and tourism. I think we should be undeniably and wholeheartedly grateful for every single tourist we get. Leave their attitude at home, relax, and be respectful. Mud season. It's a real thing. Keep your eyes peeled for deer jumping out of the shadows. ASAP is an acronym for as slow as Pagosa. Slow down when driving through neighborhoods. Get involved. Nothing happens in a small town without active community members. Now, these were just a few direct quotes that I have received recently. If you have any questions or you just want to talk about life here or making the move to Pagosa, I'm just a text away or give me a call. Love to talk with you. Feel free to reach out anytime. I think that's it for today. Thanks for watching. May you have the best day. May you have a blessed day. And I'll see you in the next video.